Hi guys, my name is Tori Hester and my informative speech is about hurricanes. I thought that was appropriate for what's been going on lately with what's happening in the southeastern part of the US and in Cuba and Mexico and even the Carolinas. And I just thought it would be great information if you don't know much about hurricanes or if you're curious about the terrorization that hurricanes have and the effects that they have on places and people. So I hope you learned something. Hurricanes are tropical storms and they usually occur in the Atlantic Ocean. The other storms that occur in the other oceans are usually called typhoons or classified as typhoons. And even though they're kind of similar, they're not the same kind of storm. Hurricanes begin and are usually classified as a hurricane and range around 75 miles per hour, but they can begin at 45 miles per hour winds. And these are called tropical disturbances, and it's a circular rotation with lower pressure in the center. And the center of a hurricane is called an eye of a hurricane. And the lower pressure of the center develops when warm saturated air is underrun and is forced up by denser colder air. And this creates a circular motion and the intense wind, and that's why it is so damaging and so violent. There's an intensity scale that was developed in the 1950s, and the National Hurricane Center rates it from a 1 to a 5. Category 5 winds exceed over 155 miles per hour in winds, and they move in like a parabola shape, and that's not even as high as they can go. Like, for instance, Hurricane Irma on September 7th, a few days ago, actually reached 185, around 185, 190 miles per hour winds. It was very terrorizing, very scary. And up until only in the 1950s were we actually able to map these hurricanes. But in 1943, we had flying military tools into hurricanes, and it took lots of time and lots of work to actually be able to map and understand hurricanes better. There was a coordinate map system made in the mid-1950s that virtually followed every storm, every hurricane, from the very beginning to the very end. So that's why up until now, after progressively fixing it and getting better, that we've been able to map all three of these different hurricanes that have been going on right now, as well as we've been able to. Some examples of some hurricanes are in 1988, there was a hurricane called Gilbert, and it was in Jamaica, and eventually even made it to parts of Mexico, and it killed over 300 people. And then only 4 years later was there another hurricane called Hurricane Andrew, and that hit southern Florida, kind of around where Irma is right now, and it left 50 people dead and $25 billion worth of damage. And in 1998, 10 years after Hurricane Gilbert, there was Hurricane Mitch in Central America, where 10,000 people died, and that was named the greatest storm in the Atlantic, in the Atlantic region, Atlantic Ocean. And there were 2 million people left homeless. But right now, what we're worried about is Hurricane Irma. And this is more than a catastrophe than when we had Hurricane Katrina in 2005, where over 1,800 Americans in New Orleans and coastal Mississippi and Louisiana and Alabama, and $125 billion worth of damage happened, and so many lives were lost and threatened, and it really took a toll on America. And here we are again combating with Hurricane Irma, and that's in the southeastern part of Florida as well, and Georgia and the Carolinas. And on September 7th, like I said, it reached about 185 to 190 miles per hour. And so far, 6.2 million homes are without power, and 160,000 people are in storm shelters. And that's just in America, but other than that, it also affected Cuba, and 10 people have actually died. 10 to 15 people have died, have been confirmed in the Cuba area because of Hurricane Irma. And that's only one hurricane. I know this is terribly sad and tragic. And Hurricane Jose has actually gone up to 105 miles per hour in the Caribbean area. And the whole thing is a rare Atlantic trio, is what they're calling it, with Jose, Irma, and Katia. And Katia is expected to hit the Gulf of Mexico area on Friday. And it's between a 1 and 2 category storm. And it has the potential to become a category 3. And the aftermath from those windstorms are also going to come up near Kentucky. But not to scare you. I'm just trying to tell you that hurricanes are real, and even though we can't stop them, we can still provide for the people who are affected, and we can still help them, and we can still support them and pray for them. So if you have anyone who's a family member, a friend, or someone you know that knows someone, please let me know in the comments so I can be praying for them. And please pray alongside me for these people who are being affected by the hurricane. Like, there's no way that we can control it, but we can help them and we can love them and try to do all that we can. We can try to do our part from where we are. Just start where you are today. And if we all start where we are, maybe all our little pieces together can make a great difference. So thank you for listening to this about hurricanes. And if you have any more questions, please leave me comments and I'll do my best to answer. But please know overall that hurricanes are natural tropical storms, and they're very dangerous. But the more we get to know about them and the more that we study them, hopefully in the future, for the future generations, we'll be able to do even more work and even better prepare for upcoming hurricanes. Thank you guys. I hope you have a great week.